welcome to AboutFACE Theatre presents 5 Questions With, and today's guest, actor Kelly AuCoin. Kelly's theatre credits include playing opposite Denzel Washington in Julius Caesar on Broadway, and work at many theatres, off-Broadway and around the US, including Manhattan Theatre Club, Playwrights Horizons, Primary Stages, Cherry Lane, LAByrinth, Oregon Shakespeare Festival, Jolla Playhouse, and Signature Theatre, where Kelly was part of a cast that won a special Drama Desk Award for Outstanding Ensemble. In addition, Kelly works extensively in TV and film, including major roles on TV series like Billions, House of Cards, and The American. Kelly, you're very welcome.
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me.
So good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Thanks. So we're just going to dive right in. So the first question is just what play or experience first got you into theater?
Oh, first got me. Oh, that's not where I thought you were going with this. Okay. I would have to say I was one of the great grade school Old King Coles. I played Old King Cole in The Trial of Mother Goose. And now stay with me. The Old King Cole and the denizens of Fairyland were putting Mother Goose on trial for defamation of character. And this was, I think in 4th grade, and the chorus teacher wrote this play, and everyone in the chorus was in it, and there were only 2 boys. So I got the lead role. I played the head. But it was a weirdly shaping experience. I mean, obviously I was a young kid, so I hadn't been on stage before. But I remember a moment. I liked the rehearsals, and I liked the camaraderie, and I liked the sort of safe space of the theater room, a place where all us little nerds could go before we even knew we were nerds. And I loved. I still remember, more vaguely now, but I remember the moment I did something that was unscripted. I just happened to do something in the heat of the moment. I don't want to call it improv because I don't want to give it that much legitimacy. It was just something some kid did that was off script, and the crowd laughed, and I was like, "Wait, what is that? What happened? What just happened?" That felt magical to me, and I think on some fundamental level, I've been hooked since.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. So obviously then Mother Goose is a big influence then, Kelly. But can you tell us, what is a great play that you love and why?
There's this play called The Trial of Mother Goose. No, a great play. There's so many. I'm going to go with a somewhat traditional play because I loved it so much, and it was one of my favorite. Well, I'm gonna have to pick between 2, but 2 of my favorite professional experiences were Arcadia and The Real Thing, both by Tom Stoppard. And I played Septimus in Arcadia and Henry in The Real Thing. And I was very fortunate to have brilliant casts and great director, and they're great roles. There's a part of me that feels like he's sort of our modern Shakespeare. It's not exactly right, but there's this love of language and this tangled, playful way of screwing around with history and seemingly different scientific and artistic passions that actually intertwine with the human heart, and how we get things wrong. Arcadia has this one thing where you're in the same room with these people 200 years ago and the scholars who are studying them 200 years later, all intertwined in the same room. And the scholars are so certain they've got this right. And the evidence, when they explain it, even you in the audience are like, oh, that's got to be what happened, even though you just saw something completely different happen. I think it's magical and playful, stupidly smart. I know that's oxymoronic, and sexy and just delicious. So I'm going to go with those 2 plays, even though there are myriad more that I could that I could name now, but I think those were on my mind because I almost said those two to answer the first question. So I'll go with those now.
Yeah. Oh
Right.
no, great plays. Great plays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's great is that there are so many plays, that are being artists who aren't old white men are starting to finally get a little bit more of their due, and more productions. And so, there are countless plays I could mention now, like Slave Play or myriad others that oh God, there's one that I wish I. Now, see, this is when I wish I had looked at the questions beforehand. Cole, I think Anna C. Cole's, I think was the name of the play. In any case, there are myriad plays out there now that you could name with more diverse authors, but I'm going to stick with those two for now.
Great.
I think those are great choices. Two great plays.
Yeah. So can you tell us about a time in your theater life where things did not go as you expected them to?
Are you kidding? It's been a straight line. Just rocketing to the top from get-go. Yeah, I mean, there were a number of them. I went to Los Angeles after college to become famous, and did absolutely nothing. And then got a call. I had auditioned for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival right before that. And after I got down to LA, I got this call saying, actually, we'd like to have you for the season. This was months later. So I did 2 seasons there. And that was actually my first professional theater viewing experience, was at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, As You Like It, when I was 8, maybe. I had 2 seasons there, and that's a great theater. It's one of the pinnacles of the American regional theater circuit, and I had some nice roles, and then I moved back down to LA to do that, and I was just really, I don't think I was arrogant. I was just very confident. Things are going to go fine now, and I got nothing again. And it was deep and dark. It was very dark. I couldn't understand why. I couldn't even get seen. I couldn't even get in a room anywhere. My wife, who is, among other things, a dancer, decided that she was going to move to New York and pursue dance with the best. And so I followed, and still didn't work. I did a couple regional things, but didn't work for quite a long time. It wasn't until my 30s that things started to happen a little bit more consistently. So I guess the big, I mean, there are probably some, I mean, I have a smaller specific one. If I'm talking too much, just like make the signal. The audience won't see it. Just like wrap it up.
We love it.
I just couldn't understand what I was doing wrong. I would say that I might have quit if there hadn't been depressed about it, because there really is nothing else I want to do. It never has been. But there were just enough people in positions of influence in my brain who would say, "You've got this. No, you're good," or just a matter of time. Some version of that. And I needed very little. I just needed the tiniest bit, a hint of a comment like that, or knowing that someone thought that about me. It didn't have to be big. It's not like you beat me over the head with it. It's like, "Oh, I'm terrible," and someone's like, "Well," I'm like, "Okay, great." I'm good. So thank God for me. I won't speak to the audiences, but thank God for me, in my mind, that there were enough people at strategic points so that I didn't quit. And I will say, okay, so I'm not remembering the exact question, but I think I'm on target here. I've had twice, I've had a bad review when everything else about the show has been apparently stellar, according to this reviewer. One was my first professional play, when literally every other actor had a paragraph about how great they were. And mine simply said, Kelly AuCoin needs more focus to bring his performance up to storefront theater standards. How funny you remember them verbatim. And then the other one, I'm doing a play called Quills, which is a great play about the Marquis de Sade. I was playing the Abbé de Comier, and I enter late into the second scene. And I was down in Florida Stage Company, which produced some really great plays before they went under. But it was, the theater was built in a strip mall. And for people, I'm not sure if that's the term in Ireland, it's not like a strip mall, like, yeah. It's just like a parking lot surrounded by flat, connected buildings that are all stores, and usually cheesy stores. You're like, yeah, we know. Jesus, what an idiot.
The image now of like a mall where everyone just takes.
I know. Now that would have been much more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so you would enter. It was odd. You'd sort of one of the entrances was through the offices, and then whatever. Anyway, most regional theaters have bulletin boards with the reviews pinned to them, and so I'm sitting there listening to the play, waiting for my cue in that office, and I glance over and I see this bulletin board, and it's got a review in big bold. And I wasn't reading reviews at the time. I thought that was smart. Turns out it was. And the title said, brilliant production of Quills. And I was thinking, well, how bad could this be? And I wandered over, read, and was like, oh, this was brilliant. This was brilliant. Oh my God, one of the best things we've seen in all years. Like, this is one of the best state productions of blah, blah, blah. Where the production falters is in the casting of Kelly AuCoin as the Abbé de Comier. And then I hear my cue, literally then. And I had to run on, and it's sort of a blur. But it wasn't even my choices. It was literally the casting. Yeah. So months before, when they decided to cast me, they doomed themselves by casting Kelly AuCoin. What were they thinking? So there you go.
So it's a bad review for the casting director, not for you.
I don't blame. Exactly. See, I wish you'd been there at the time. That is perfect. It wasn't me. Oh my God, this is a weight off my shoulders, Anna.
So, Kelly, so obviously, like, you've already had like a great career in the theater, and you're also working in TV and film with some great parts. But what is it that keeps you coming back to the theater? What moves you? What excites you about theater?
It's always hard to put into words, but it's that is acting to me. That's my grounding. It's what I fell in love with. And I mean, people say cliche shit like this all the time, but it's like, you never forget your first love. And everything about rehearsing, previewing, and performing in, and carousing after a performance, everything about that is in my DNA now. It's I love tech. I love that week where you're there from 12 hours out of the day. You just have time to go home and eat and fall asleep, and then you're back. I love it. And I love the fact that you're almost always in theaters where the Wi-Fi sucks and you can't get cell service. So you have to just deal with each other or be bored. Who's bored? No one's bored anymore because we have these computers we carry around in our pockets, but you're bored lying on the floor, or just like you're napping in it, whatever. Everyone's lying around on top of each other. And that's when you really get to know people. And it's that point in the process where you've rehearsed and you've built something tenuously, maybe okay. And then you're away from it for a week and you're convinced it's all going to fall apart. And it does for a while, but then it's back. And because you've been away, it's actually better because you've had a moment to sort of step back and look at it. And the camaraderie is different. And you've all been in this. It's like being caught in this liminal moment. right? It's rehearsal to, it's like walking through that door from rehearsal to performance. The door is that liminal space, and you're sort of stuck there, like you're stuck in the wardrobe going to Narnia. I love that. It just, you're breathing the same air as the audience. Everything, people who don't do theater, just do screen, think it's monotonous and you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you're just not. Every performance is different because of what the audience does or doesn't do, or just an energy. Sometimes you can just feel an energy that doesn't really have to do with what they're verbally or verbally giving you. It's just, it's magic. And as much as I've 7 or 8 years ago, when I started to do more long-term TV shows, I understood how magical that can be as well, because you've got a character and a through, and so it's like you don't have to do all the back work. The lack of rehearsal doesn't matter as much anymore, because you have created this. You don't have to create the character anymore. You just, in the 2 weeks you're shooting an episode, you create the given circumstances and you react to those circumstances. Early on, when you're doing a guest star thing, you have to create everything from scratch, and that just, to me, is the experience is inherently inferior to the rehearsal process. But there's just everything about the theater process and the theater creation process is just, it's delicious to me. It is literal magic.
Excellent. Yeah. So other than, magic and learning how to be a part of and produce magic, are there any tools from theater or that you've used or that you have found useful in your day-to-day life, in your non-acting life?
I mean, I'm a really good liar. No. I think there are a couple things. One that sort of struck me recently, people tend to think of actors or often think of actors as being incredibly narcissistic or shallow. And yes, of course that can happen, but on the whole, what I see are people who really know how to listen, and can, again, I know this is not across the board, but can really be ridiculously intuitive. And I think that has to do with the listening, and listening not just with the ears, but listening with the eyes and really reading someone. And so that's one thing. And I think that in general, the process of creating theater requires and builds interpersonal skills and communication skills, just to navigate all the time you're in a room together, and the generosity of allowing people to try stuff and look like a jackass in front of other people, and helping make it clear that this is a safe space. Be a jackass. I'm going to be a jackass too. Not as a dick. You're not being a dick to someone. No. You're being, looking like an idiot. And there's a generosity in that I think helps in real life, civilian life. And we could use a lot more of it, actually. But yeah, I think that those would be my answers. And memorization skills. Never don't come in handy. Never doesn't. Yep. Always comes in handy. Never a bad thing to have good memorization skills. Yeah.
Well, Kelly, this has been so great. Just as a bonus question, can you tell us anything about what you're working on at the moment?
You said 5 questions. This is bullshit. What is this? No.
We're not such good liars.
Yeah, that's right. No, well, we're back at Billions, which is great. And I've been on set a handful of times. First time in a year. When I set foot on set for the first time this year, it had been a year and 6 days. Not that I was counting, but a year and 6 days.
Wow.
So that's been great. That's what I'm working on now. Other than that, I'm doing one of the things I started doing to keep me busy during the pandemic. I'm doing a talk show. Was doing IG Live interviews with other actors, but then I'm doing a podcast, a YouTube show called The Dominant Ones, where Dominique Wilkins, who is a famous basketball player who I grew up idolizing and I got to know, which is another story. And 12-year-old B is just like bouncing up and down every time we do one of these. It's like, yeah. But yeah, but be cool. But his whole brand is about being dominant because he was this just like ridiculously dominant player. And we interview people who are successful in whatever career they are in, and talk to them about how they shape their lives and their careers and what dominance means to them. And we get such an interesting variety of answers. One guy who to us, it's like he's on the top of his field. Charlemagne the God. I don't know if you know him. He's a radio personality, and he was like, I don't know if I really do. I don't know if I'm there. Another person was like consistency, and another person was like crushing your opponent. And it was like, wow, I don't want to hang out with that guy. I'll hang out with the other guy. But it's been really fun and not exactly creative, but sort of approximated filling that void during this time. So that's been a fun new thing to try.
Great. And you're going to keep it up?
Yeah, we're planning on doing another season. 7 of the episodes have aired. And the latest one is Randall Park, who's a wonderful actor from Fresh Off the Boat, and now he's in the Marvel universe. But anyway, we're planning on doing another season of 10 sometime in the next few months. We did it on Zoom this time, and we're hoping to actually be able to do it live. So we'll probably wait a few months before we start up again. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Kelly, thank you so very much for joining us.
Absolutely. This was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, our pleasure.
Yeah,
and
actors hate talking about themselves.
Yeah.
It's so hard getting going.
And of course, a huge thank you to you too, our audience. Thanks so much for joining us. And if you enjoyed the show, please like and share because, hey, theater makes life better. So see you next time on AboutFACE Theater presents 5 Questions With.
If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and share. Thanks for watching.